You know, we spoke about video. We spoke about. I made the statement that shooting deaths are pretty cut and dry, which we know that they're not. Um, but one case that you were involved in, it really shows that you can have something on video. You can have the person dying due to gunshot wound, and there are still more questions than answers. And in this case, I'm talking about JFK. You served as chairman of the House Select Committee on Assassinations Forensic Pathology panel that investigated that assassination. It is now 2023. This is still one of America's great conspiracies. Why is there a conspiracy to begin around this case?
That is also a very good question. Back in 1978, I hadn't been. I was still deputy chief medical examiner. The U.S. Congress decided to set up, created a special select committee on assassinations, to investigate the deaths of President John F. Kennedy and of Dr. Martin Luther King, because there were controversies whether the initial investigations were accurate. With John F. Kennedy, and in both deaths, the cause of death were clear. The rifle wounds. But the issues were how many shooters were there with John F. Kennedy? Because when John F. Kennedy comes into the hospital and he's in the emergency room, the doctor examining him sees a bullet hole in the neck. The first doctor, and the first thing they do is make an incision through the bullet hole in the neck to put a tracheostomy incision to put an airway in the neck so he can breathe. He dies. Television comes in and says that he was shot in the neck. He was shot from the front. One shooter. The body is illegally moved to Washington. It should have been done by the autopsy by the medical examiner in Dallas, who is very experienced. It goes to Dallas, where the doctors doing the autopsies are a naval physician, naval pathologist. They don't call and speak to the doctor in Dallas, say, what did you do? What kind of incisions did you make or anything? They don't do that, which a normal medical examiner would do. They turn the body over and see a bullet hole in the back. They see a bullet hole in the back, in addition to the wound in the head, in the back. And they say he was shot in the back. And they think that they don't realize there's an exit hole in the front because the tracheotomy incision. So the doctors in Bethesda say he was shot twice, the gunshot wound in the head, and he was also shot in the back. The doctors in Dallas say he's shot in the head, but he's also shot in the neck. So if you have a shooting in the front and a shooting in the back, that's two shooters. And they start out right away with two shooters, a conspiracy, and that has burgeoned into an industry where there are a lot of people who think that there were multiple shooters, that it was conspiracy. But we found from the autopsy point of view that President Kennedy was shot twice, two entrances in the back. Fought by, from Lee Harvey Oswald, and no bullet wounds from the front, whereas others to this day will say, well, the two shooters, the conspiracy, they haven't released all yet. There's still some records that haven't been released yet. Why are they holding on to it? And that it was a conspiracy because there were two shooters.
Okay, so to set the record straight, there is no conspiracy. Lee Harvey Oswald was the only shooter, and he was shot twice.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald actually shot three bullets 3 times. 2 of them hit the president, and those are the 2 bullets. One in the back of the head, and one in the upper back of the president, and that caused his death. It really he died of the bullet wound of the head. The wound of the head. He would have survived if it was only the one shot in the back.
Okay. You mentioned that you were that you served as the deputy medical examiner for Suffolk County.
Yes.
Okay, you were dismissed from that position, but it was later rescinded. What happened with that?
No, I took after I was demoted in 1979 from being chief medical examiner. I was demoted by Mayor Koch from chief medical examiner to deputy chief medical examiner. A year or 2 later, I decided to take a 2-year sabbatical. I took a sabbatical, which I was entitled to for 2 years, because the medical examiner in Suffolk County, Dr. Weinberg, needed some assistance there. So I came out there. I was deputy chief. I was an acting chief for a while when he had to go to the hospital. And at the end of the sabbatical, I came back to New York City as deputy chief medical examiner.